Triple H announces another new landscape. WWE's Royal Rumble problem. My review of Monday Netflix Raw, and more. I'm Ollie Davis, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. I've got a bit of a reputation around these parts as the CM Punk guy. He was my favourite wrestler when I was growing up as a 25-year-old. I allegedly cried on a live stream when he returned to wrestling with AEW. And now, for the first time in his second WWE run, he has won a top title. It's the World Heavyweight title, but that still counts. It's like I main evented WrestleMania, but it was only night one. A lot of people have asked me about my reaction to Punk's title win over Jey Uso at Saturday night's main event. So let me reenact my excitement when I watched the match on Sunday morning. Yeah. Oh, okay then. It may shock you considering he did the morally right thing by promoting the Saudi Arabian government, but I'm just not as into Punk as I once was. Hell, I get a sense that Punk isn't as into himself as he once was. He made his return to wrestling with AEW in 2021. Even before his music hit in Chicago on the second ever episode of Rampage, we were all speculating, but when do you turn him heel? A year in? 2 years in? Nobody was saying keep him babyface for at least 4 years. Punk's firing from AEW has artificially stretched out his face persona. He would have probably turned heel in a feud with MJF in 2024 otherwise. Instead, he made his return to WWE, which essentially reset the face run timer. Even though he said in his very first promo back in the company he was here to make money and win championships, not make friends, the last 2 years have been characterized as being Jay's friend, being Cody's friend, being Sammy's friend, being AJ Lee's husband. This is mirrored by WWE's current creative malaise. With Seth Rollins' injury, there was an opportunity to give the men's main event scene a jolt of unpredictability. Breakker could have won the vacant world championship. Jay could have turned heel. Punk could have turned heel, becoming the Vision's new leader. Instead, WWE chose the most predictable route. Punk beat Jay clean, he's a babyface champion, and his first challenger is Logan Paul as set up on Raw. But there is some cause for celebration, because Luke insanely put his championship on the line for Jay to win the belt, which means I am your new Jam That Champion. That's right, me and Punk are the new two-man power trip. Triple H, however, has hyped Saturday night's main event as the start of a new era for the company, even though it feels very much like the previous one. A lot can happen on a Saturday night in WWE. 4 high-stakes matches, 2 new world champions crowned, and a history-making announcement for December 13th. There's a new landscape in WWE starting tonight on Raw, complete with obligatory pointing photo with champion man Punk. Because it's not about Triple H. Guys, stop making it about Triple H. He doesn't want to be the focus. All he wants to do, just once, is stand on top of the WrestleMania 41 stadium and get loads of pyro. But what will this new landscape be? Triple H appeared on the ironically named All In Summit podcast, where he was asked if he felt pressured to make WWE a more physical product to compete with the UFC. WWE and the UFC are, of course, the same company, an example of Endeavor's monopolistic goal to own large shares of everything. Levesque explained that the UFC books around what will be a great fight that people want to see, whereas WWE's form of wrestling is about telling stories. I would say we're much more akin to, like, the Marvel universe, where you're planning out long-term where the movies fit and how they go with all the characters, than we are direct MMA. At the end of the day, direct MMA is you're booking matches and the interest is that guy's really good, he's really good, I'm not sure who's going to win, let's put them together. When you get the right personalities involved, then it explodes. I agree. Just like Marvel, WWE has to think far more about storylines and angles and characters than it does just the in-ring payoffs like UFC. And also just like Marvel, WWE is stale. And one of the more exciting events in the WWE calendar looks set to be just as predictable. Hello, yep, come in, the consequences of my actions. WWE announced over the weekend that there will be a Saturday night's main event in Montreal on the 24th of January, the week before the Royal Rumble. Wrestling Observer Live is reporting this new Saturday night's main event show has been added so WWE can reveal the surprises there that would have normally been saved for the Rumble match itself. That's because the Rumble is taking place in Saudi Arabia, and sneaking people into that country for the show, presumably because of visas and travel logistics, will be a lot harder than if it took place in the United States. Just before I get into the Raw review, I've got a favour to ask. Yes, it's book related. If you've bought a copy of my book, please, can you leave a review for it on Amazon? If you somehow missed me talking about it solidly for a month, my debut novel was published in September. You can buy your copy from the link in the video description below if you haven't already. It's a sci-fi leaning comedy about the manosphere. And it's become my publisher's biggest selling book ever so far. It's currently sitting at 37 reviews on Amazon, and the next big milestone is to get it to 50. So if you leave a review there, I'll give you a shout out on the podcast. Speaking of reviews, now it's time for one of Monday Night Raw in about 5 minutes. The show opened on the new World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk wearing an awesome new sweatshirt design. Just when I thought I was out of buying wrestling merch that doesn't suit me, they pull me back in. He thanked Larry the Dog, AJ Lee, all of us, and Jey Uso for him becoming a world champion again. He even swung the belt over his head to mock Rollins. The audience loudly cheered, but all I could think of was, don't jump into the crowd and break your foot. But he didn't come back to make friends, even though, again, that's mostly what he's done for the last 2 years. He came back to make money and win championships. And now he's done that, it's time to be a fighting champion. He ran down all the people he'd be honored to fight. AJ Styles, Dirty Dom, Finn Balor, Sheamus. He put over JD McDonough big time, who appears to be Punk's favorite wrestler right now. He even challenged John Cena to try and become an 18-time world champion. There were so many great options for a first challenger there, even McDonough. But it was all to set up a brass knuck shot to the balls, Logan Paul. If WWE wasn't so creatively dull right now, I'd have really enjoyed this. Punk screaming, no, no, anyone but you, would have been funny. But I do find WWE stuck in cruise control at the moment. And having Logan as Punk's first challenger, and looking ahead at the next 6 months of Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, and Elimination Chamber, where I doubt Triple H will give us any actual substantial feuds for Punk as he plays second fiddle to match stipulations, and everything is painfully stretched out to WrestleMania, saps me of excitement. The Vision interrupted to say they should be next in line, and for a moment they teased that Logan would save Punk and turn babyface, which was a smart misdirect for the main event angle. But back to the problems. This segment was half an hour long. Half an hour! To accomplish about 10 minutes worth of material. According to the Wrestling Observer, this opening promo massively overran. It was meant to be 15, but it went 25, which caused a scramble in gorilla position. I doubt they ended up cutting anything, as the overall duration of the episode was 10 minutes longer than normal. The opening match saw the least convincing friendship in wrestling, Stephanie Vaquer and Nikki Bella, team to take on the Judgment Day. This was mostly based around Stephanie squaring up to the much larger Raquel, building a women's title match between them for next week as the prophecy demands. If you wrestle Roxanne, you must wrestle Raquel shortly after, so it is written, so it will be done. And the other central story, how Nikki and Stephanie clearly aren't real friends. But not in the Charlotte and Alexa way or Asuka's abusive mentorship of Kairi. This is just a terrible on-screen pairing, as their friendship seems to be based on do a move, then hug. Nikki took the pinfall loss to Roxanne. Nikki apologized to Stephanie afterwards, where they both called each other amazing. This is more fake than watching Selling Sunset, presumably setting up a heel turn and a match I don't want to see. Penta then overcame multiple interference spots to beat El Grande Americano in a fun match, but one in a feud that feels like it's stuck on a treadmill. Dominic Mysterio celebrated 9 successful IC title defenses, claiming no one can beat him, when his own father, Rey Mysterio, returned from being out with injury since before WrestleMania. The crowd were hilariously stuck between wanting to respect the names of Rey and Eddie Guerrero, but also wanting to troll them and sing Dirty Dom's name. Dom told Rey to keep his dad's name out of his mouth, referring to Eddie, and Rey said as long as he's around, Dom will never be the greatest Mysterio. They brawled and Dom ran away. This was a great angle that will presumably be stretched out way too long for WrestleMania. My favourite part of the show, however, was Becky Lynch's surprise promo. She jumped on the commentary desk while Wade and Joe were doing a link and then started ragging on New Mexico. New Mexico isn't cool like Becky. The best thing to come out of New Mexico is a show about how much meth you people do. Of course, a reference to the all-time great television show Bron Breaking Bad. She's having a bad time right now. The Vision have screwed everything up. Her hot husband is injured at home, and Maxine Dupree thinks she's great, when she's just lucky. It expertly didn't just set up a blow-off match between her and Dupree. It also teased a future clash with Asuka as they passed on the ramp like ships in the night. This was for a tag team grudge match between the Kabuki Warriors against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, after Asuka and Kairi had jumped them at the end of last week's terrific main event. Bayley and Lyra worked together well despite the mind games from the Kabuki Warriors, but Asuka awesomely caught a Valkyria springboard into the Asuka lock, immediately making her tap. Charlotte and Alexa ran down afterwards to chase the Kabuki Warriors off ahead of their tag title next week. The women's tag and IC divisions are the best things on Raw right now. The Judgment Day were happy backstage about Raquel's women's title shot against Vakir next week, until Dom walked in just talking about his own daddy issues. Finn and JD stormed off, so Roxanne persuaded Dom to be the bigger man and help them in their tag title match. The sexual flirtiness dynamic between them has fizzled out now, despite a photo of Liv Morgan being placed between them in the shot. Roxanne's character, originally brought into the faction by Finn to drive Dom out, has totally waned. The Judgment Day interference plan didn't work, as AJ Styles and Dragon Lee retained next in a fun match. Dom was taken out by Sheamus, following on from the Irish division feud from last week. The Last Time Is Now tournament to decide John Cena's final opponent is supposedly randomly drawn names out of a tombola, which is an insane way to decide this. In kayfabe, what if Edge's name is actually in one of those balls but they just don't draw it? The first round matches were announced as Rusev vs Damian Priest and Shinsuke Nakamura vs Sheamus, both which will happen on next week's Raw, which will be Cena's final appearance in Boston. 2 more matches will be announced on SmackDown. And the main event was Jey Uso removing everything that was interesting about him, taking the world title loss well and respecting Punk for beating him clean and teaming with him against the Vision. Heyman had a backstage interaction with Jey before the match, seemingly inviting him to be part of the faction, but it was a red herring. Jey and Punk worked well together as a team. The Vision hit a shatter machine on Punk, which might have been a shout out to his FTR buddies in AEW. Other stuff happened, I don't know, I was just so worried that Punk would get injured again. They all brawled outside and the referee declared a double count-out draw. The Vision started to beat up Punk and Jey afterwards, but Logan made the babyface save. He looked like he was going to deck Braun or Bronson with the brass knuckles, but he KO'd Punk instead, seemingly aligning with the Vision, presumably for War Games teams. It was a well-executed angle, but don't let that distract you from it being with the wrong guy. I'm very concerned we're going to get forgettable Monster of the Month feuds until February. This week's Raw is 67%. Remember, go review my book Irrational on Amazon and watch the real reason Saturday night's main event was so disappointing, including a YouTube dislike backlash at WWE by clicking the video on screen now.